Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our third day of our Gluten-Free Living Week. So a very busy day we have in store for everyone today, our participants, and our first slot is our lovely Nicola, who is going to be doing a cookery demonstration from us. And Nicola's from the Wonky Spatula, and she's been a very busy lady over the past few weeks because she's recently just launched her cookery book. Go and hold it up there, Nicola, while I'm just introducing you. So Nicola is very passionate about healthy food, natural food. She really doesn't believe in diets. She's a woman after my own heart because just diets have been proven that they're unsustainable. So I think we both really feel passionate about good, healthy food. So, and she's going to do some delicious recipes for us today. So not only that, Nicola has also very kindly offered, so she has, if you hop over to the exhibition section of the website, she has a stand there and she is very kindly offering a discount code to her book. So you might take a look at that after the demonstration. So before I hand over to Nicola, I just want to let you all know that we have 5 wonderful prizes to give away today. We have a cookery book from Nicola, Compliments of Nicola. We have a beautiful homespun hamper. We also have a Schnitzer Love Bread hamper and a green saffron as well. We also have a membership of the Celiac Society to give away, and my colleague Jennifer throughout the webinar will be randomly picking winners for these beautiful gifts and prizes. So over to you, Nicola. How are you today, and how have you been managing over the busy launch, since the busy launch of your book? Hold on there. We're just on mute. There we go. Hold on.
Sorry, it came up that I was muted when you were doing the beginning, and then I was like, maybe I shouldn't talk. But hopefully everyone can hear me now. So I'm Nicola. I am the creator of the Wonky Spatula. I probably would have said blogger 6 weeks ago, but now I can say author. So adjusting to my new title and definitely keeping busy with all things book related. So I'm really looking forward to be here today to show you guys 3 of my kind of key recipes from the book. They are all gluten-free and everything within the book is gluten-free as well. So it's a great kind of one-stop shop for anybody finding their feet in the kitchen all the way up to seasoned cooks. And there's a bit of everything in there from breakfast, lunch, all the way up to showstopper desserts. So if you have a kind of a big occasion coming up, there's definitely some lovely things in there for you. So I'm going to start off today by showing you one of the breakfast recipes. So it's a baked oats. I think at this time of the year, we're all kind of, you know, migrating away from overnight oats into porridge. And anybody like me probably gets a little bit bored after a couple of weeks. Like you're really excited about it, you're changing up all your toppings, and then suddenly you're in a bit of a rush. So this one is a really great one to maybe make ahead of time or even make at the weekend. So it is a blackberry and lemon baked oats. And if you find that you really, really like this recipe and you kind of make it a few times, there are other variations of it on my blog, The Wonky Spatula, as well. So,
and Nicola, just to say, obviously, anybody who has any questions as you're going through things, if you fire them into either the chat or the Q&A, we will do our best to answer all questions as we go along. It just makes it a lot more fun. So looking forward to seeing this.
Great. So the key kind of ingredient here for this recipe is gluten-free oats. So it's really, really important that you kind of consult your food book and check out that you are getting oats that are certified gluten-free, because a lot of the time mainstream oats can have cross-contamination in the growing process. So while, you know, they're considered a naturally occurring gluten-free product, they actually aren't when it comes down to picking them up in store. So it's one to be really, really mindful of, whether you yourself are celiac or you're cooking for a celiac. So never kind of assume is my main piece of advice when cooking gluten-free. Like always check the labels and just make sure that you're putting your best foot forward before you start in the kitchen. So I've got about 50 grams of oats here, so that's typically what I would use for a normal portion of porridge myself in the mornings. And then I'm going to add it just to a bowl with a little bit of water. If you prefer, you can use kind of oat milk or almond milk or even cow's milk as the liquid, but I think with water it's just as good. And then
would you mind just speaking up a little bit? I think Tina is just struggling a little bit to hear, so just
double check that I am connected properly.
Sound, yeah. Moira's just struggling a little bit with the sound as well. So
yeah, let me just check here that I am using my AirPods.
The joy of technology.
Exactly. Is that any better for anyone?
Yeah, I think so. Hold on, Brenda, Moira, Tina, how is that sounding for you in the, maybe go back to where you are and we'll keep going and we'll see how the sound is.
Yeah, super.
Oh, it does sound better actually. Yeah, thanks a million.
Brilliant. I think I had disconnected in the process.
Yeah, all good. Yes, we're all doing well.
Quick little recap just so that everyone can hear. I've got about 50 grams of oats and some water here in this little jug, and I'm going to crack an egg in. So you're almost making a bit of a cake-like substance with the oats, which I just really love that at this time of the year. So you need to just whisk it around a little bit. You're just combining the oats with the liquid. And I've got a little bit of lemon juice to make that nice zesty flavor kind of come to life. If you like, you can put orange juice in here, you can put pomegranate, cranberry juice. It's really kind of a basic recipe that can be adapted depending on what you are in the mood for. And then
Aisling is just wondering, would that work with quinoa flakes?
I haven't tested it, but I actually think it probably...
I think it would as well. Yeah, I think it would work quite nicely, Aisling.
Have a similar consistency. So definitely, I'd love to know if you do give it a go, let me know how it turns out. It sounds like a good option for sure. So a little bit of lemon zest going in there as well, and then a small amount of sweetener. So I use agave for this recipe, but you could use honey or maple syrup depending on what you have to hand. The only reason I prefer agave versus any of the other ones is probably a little bit of a juvenile one. Agave comes from the same plant that they make tequila from, so I always feel a little bit bold using it in my breakfast.
I figured out what's happening with the sound. I think it's a little bit far away from your laptop. I don't know if it's disconnecting because it's the distance from your laptop to your AirPods. It's kind of coming and going a little bit, so
is that any better?
We'll keep going and we'll just keep trying. We can do, yeah, we'll just keep going. It's the joy of COVID, and but
super. So I've got an oven-proof dish here then for my recipe, and then I'm going to put a little bit of coconut oil around the edges. So if you didn't have coconut oil to hand, you could use butter, but essentially it's just to stop the mixture from sticking. So just giving it a little bit of a wipe around the edge. And then very, very easy recipe, I have to say. Just pour the oat mixture in. Make sure that you're not missing any of the goodness in the bowl or the jug that you prepare it in. So here it is, looking nice. And then I'm just going to place maybe 5 to 6 blackberries into the mixture.
Did you pick those yourself, Nicola? I noticed there's lots of blackberries.
Super value.
I know. I noticed there's lots of them on the bushes at the moment.
Yeah, they definitely are really, really in season at the moment. And that's one of the things I love about cooking is that throughout the year you can pick on different fruits and vegetables that are in season and kind of local. So if you wanted to put raspberries in there, strawberries, blueberries, anything you like works nicely. Equally, a little bit of a banana. Now, I don't think you'll find one of those growing locally, though. That's the only thing.
Yeah, no, but apples and pears, even them chopped up small, even the winter, in the bowels of winter, you can still get Irish apples and pears, and
Exactly, and you
they
can
still be
break them
nice.
through and put them in kind of
Yeah.
instead of your lemon. So I'm just going to pop this into the oven. I've got it preheated at 180 degrees, and it's going to go in there for about 15 to 20 minutes until we've got that really nice cake-like consistency.
And Nicola, is that a portion for one or for two?
So that's a portion for one, yeah.
Okay, so you just up it accordingly for if you're feeding a family.
Exactly, and you know what, if you have sort of a really big baking dish, or even like one that I'm going to show you in the next recipe, you could multiply it by 4, put it in the oven, maybe do it on a Sunday night, and you could chop it up into little bars once it's fully cooked. So you've got grab and go breakfast on the ready kind of for the week ahead.
Absolutely. I have a question here coming in from Jerry with regarding to oats, and I know a lot of celiacs do struggle to tolerate oats, and Sarah Keogh, our resident dietitian, did a fantastic seminar yesterday. So I think anybody who is struggling with oats, it's well worth going back and watching that, because she did have some other suggestions for people who are intolerant. But even the previous question, quinoa flakes would work really well. Either. So, but Sarah did cover a lot of that off. So I do understand, Jerry, that a lot of celiacs can't tolerate it, but there is other options as well out there.
Yeah, and like there are other kind of breakfast options as well if you're looking for something in a similar vein, I suppose, to porridge that is gluten-free. Like we have the quinoa example there, or I actually love banana bread in the mornings as well, and I make mine with ground almonds and loads of eggs, so there's no kind of sourcing any different flours and things like that, and it actually gives you a similar consistency to the baked oats as well. So
yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. Now Yvonne is just wondering here, could you add natural yogurt to the baked oats?
I would probably do it once they're cooked as a bit of a what I like to do with mine, I was going to have a chat about it when I take it out of the oven, but I like to put a little bit of nut butter and a little bit of extra agave with mine. So I definitely be going with the yogurt afterwards. I think it'd be lovely with a bit of agave or honey on top as well. That's a great one.
Brilliant, brilliant. Pauline here is just wondering, Nicola, she said, I have diabetes as well. Do all the recipes have a carb count so I can manage my insulin intake?
They don't have a carb count on them, but the best way of tracking the carbs, if you wanted to kind of do it quick and easily, would be if you input the ingredients into MyFitnessPal, and it'll give you the total carb per serving. I used to put my blog recipes into MyFitnessPal, but I kind of moved away slightly from counting carbs and protein and macros and things like that personally, because I don't necessarily need to. But I think MyFitnessPal is probably the best place to head for working those out, for sure.
What temperature is your oven on there, Nicola?
180 degrees.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Super. So I am just going to quickly grab the ingredients for my next recipe. So I'm going to be doing some swirly chocolate brownies, flourless, with my favorite ingredient, ground almonds. So hold on just a tick.
Wonderful.
You can shout away any other questions while I am just rearranging slightly.
Oh, don't worry. Brian here is wondering, you mentioned that banana bread. Is that in your cookery book, Nicola?
Yeah, it is. So it's called Grab and Go Banana Muffins, and it is in the breakfast section. It's proving very popular already, actually, which is great to see.
Brilliant. And is your oven a fan oven?
No, I just have it on normal oven. So if you were doing fan, it'd be 160. So when you are looking at ovens that, recipes that say fan oven, and if you're going to convection, just add 20, and equally other way around, -20 is the best way to do it.
Okay, fantastic. Brilliant.
So I'm going to show now a swirly chocolate strawberry brownie. So I think this one is a great one for the weekends, getting kids involved in the kitchen and just having a bit of fun. It's not necessarily an everyday one because it is a little bit bold, but I think we all need that little bit of boldness in our lives. And definitely, I think when children are faced with, being diagnosed with celiac, it can be really difficult when they look at their friends and they're, out having brownies or out having cakes and things like that, and they feel a little bit left out. So this is one that I think you can get on board with the friends, with the whole family, and just enjoy the process with it. And it doesn't feel like it's any different.
Absolutely. And possibly a birthday treat as well, or a Sunday morning or a Sunday, whatever, a special treat day.
Exactly. And I actually did a live cook along of this during lockdown with a group of kids, and they really, really enjoyed it because there's nothing, there's nothing to kind of have to watch out as a parent outside of maybe cutting strawberries involved. So it's a great one to get going with.
Brilliant.
Adults are allowed as well. So don't think it's just for kids. I eat these all the time. So I've got almond butter as my base for this. So this is in place of any flour that I use. And now if you were kind of faced with a nut allergy as well as a gluten intolerance or being celiac, you can use sunflower butter. It has the exact same consistency, which is a great switch because sometimes as well, with kids in schools, if you are sending this in as a little treat, they do have to stay away from nuts.
Right. And that's a lot of almond butter. That's probably a very large tub, or is it 2 jars?
It is a jar and a bit. So it's 1.5 cups. I like to use cup measures for baking, purely for ease, so that you don't have to get out the weighing scales for absolutely everything.
Yeah, understand.
And I actually tend to buy big tubs of, I'll show you actually.
It's the Meridian. Oh, it's a different one.
Yeah,
it's Meridian,
yeah, they've just changed the logo in the last couple of weeks. So I use the big tubs because it's way more efficient cost-wise. And the small tubs, one, I find you can't get all of the butter out at the end because of the corners, and two, the cost per kilo is dramatically reduced by using the large tub. So I'm just going to pop in 3 eggs. So the eggs together with the almond butter, when you mix them around and kind of whip them up, they create that lightness in this, and that gives you the kind of cake feeling that you wouldn't kind of get without it. So 3 large eggs going in there. And then I'm using agave again for this recipe, similar reasons to what I've already said, but you can use honey or you can use maple syrup. Essentially, you just need a liquid sweetener to ensure the consistency. So that is going in there, and I'm going to give it a little bit of a mix. So you want to get it really nicely combined, and I start off kind of slowly because you don't want it to start splattering everywhere, but once it starts to come together, then I increase the speed on it as I add the additional ingredients. So if you wanted to use maybe a different nut butter, if you're not kind of a fan of almond butter, peanut butter works great here. It's also a little bit cheaper, so you can go for that. And equally, I'm a huge fan of cashew butter because I love the smoothness of it. So you can probably see that this is coming together quite nicely. So I'm going to go in with some cacao powder. Now, I prefer to use cacao powder because it's more refined than cocoa powder and it doesn't have the same kind of sugar content. It's just a more kind of raw ingredient to use. But, you know, if you're baking with kids and things like that, cocoa powder, absolutely fine. You won't necessarily taste the difference too much. I just tend to prefer to use it. Then I've got some vanilla extract. I really recommend with this using a little of a really high quality extract versus a good bit of essence. You just get a way more kind of well-rounded flavor from it. So this is the one that I generally use. And then some baking powder. So make sure that you are using gluten-free products for all of these and you're sense checking them against the food list just to be doubly sure. And then just a little pinch of coarse salt, just in baking brings all the flavors together. So we'll give that a good mix. And then we're going to be putting it into the baking tray. So similar to the oats, I've got my oven preheated to 180 degrees. And I like to use a silicone baking tray for 2 reasons. One, I think you get a better cook from it. And 2, you don't have that turmoil of putting the baking paper into the tray and, you know, getting the perfect square. And you don't have to grease these either, so they just like slip straight out. Absolutely. But if you...
Yeah, no, I don't have any of those. I must get some actually, especially if you're recommending them.
They're really, really handy. And you can get them for cupcakes as well. Personally, I don't really see the point in the cupcake because I like the paper to eat out of. But they come in all different shapes and sizes for baking. And for loaf tins as well, if you wanted to do a large banana bread or a brack, given the time of the year. So definitely one that I like to have in the kitchen. So they've mixed around nicely.
Yeah, that mixture tastes delicious, does it?
Yeah. If I wasn't on camera, I might have had a little taste.
I know, you can always tell the result of what your baking's going to be by giving the, you know, either the K beater or the beater a little tasting. It's very important, chef's treat.
Exactly, and that's one as well that, you know, when you've got kids baking, that can cause rows for sure.
Absolutely. Now, Susie is just wondering here, she's not a fan of chocolate anything. Could she just use the vanilla, or would you maybe put some lemon? You know, what else could you use instead of?
That is a difficult question because it is definitely a chocolate-based recipe. But if you wanted to do kind of blondies, you could go for it without the chocolate and maybe kind of look at just upping the vanilla. I think it would work. Yeah, I definitely think it would. And if it is a case of, because I actually do know that this works because I've done it a few times. So if you are into kind of heading to the gym and things like that, you could use a flavored protein powder in place of it. So a vanilla protein or a salted caramel would be amazing in place of the chocolate.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm wondering as well, would there any dried fruit? Would that work at all, Nicola? Do you think maybe some chopped up?
Yeah, you could definitely add chopped up dried fruit to kind of enhance the flavor for sure. So you're getting like, you know, you're still getting a really kind of deep flavor from it, because that would be my only kind of reservation with leaving out the chocolate is that it's kind of just almond cake. But then again, I love pear and almond tart, so it could be good.
Yeah. Geraldine is just wondering how much chocolate again, please, if you could remember off the top of your head.
A quarter cup.
Quarter cup, very good.
So I have a quarter cup of cocoa powder or cacao powder. I've got 1.5 cups of almond butter. I have 1/3 of a cup of agave. I've got a teaspoon of baking powder. About a teaspoon of vanilla extract, although I like to be heavy-handed on that one, and then 3 eggs. Yeah.
And can you use any cups, or do you have to buy those proper cup measurers?
So this is the beauty about the cups, is that if you use one measure and you're consistent with the kind of ratios throughout, so you're filling that same cup a quarter or a half or that kind of thing, a normal cup that you have in the house is perfect. I do have cup measures that I have gotten like in the supermarket, and I think they're about €6 or €8, and for the sake of kind of repeat use and not having to kind of mathematically look at the cup that you're using and see if it is a quarter, it's definitely worthwhile. But you know what, if you don't have cups and you want to make a quick and easy recipe, I'd say go for what you have on hand for sure.
Very good. And just back to the oats then, Nicola, how long are they in the oven? I think you said 20 odd minutes, wasn't it?
About 15 to 20. So believe it or not, we've got 1 minute and 22 seconds left, which means we need to finish this because we have got to switch them in the oven.
Very good.
Super. So I'm just kind of spreading this out into my mixture, and the kind of, I suppose, bit of theatre with this one is that it is a swirly brownie recipe. So I have a little bit of almond butter here that I've kind of held back. I'm just going to pop a dash of water into it. And the water basically just loosens it out a little bit to make it spreadable.
So this would be very high in protein, really, wouldn't it?
Yeah, really high in protein, but also now quite high in fat. So not one for every day of the week, but an enjoyable one for the weekend nonetheless. So I've just kind of loosened the almond butter slightly. And what I do is I just swirl it into the brownie, just kind of a circular. I'll hold this up once I have it so you can have a look. It gives the illusion of being very artistic, but I am terrible at drawing or anything like that. So
you're like
but again, like a really good one to have a bit of fun in the kitchen with. Let me just turn that off for a sec.
The joy of oven timers. I would have everything burnt if I didn't put an oven timer on.
Exactly. I even find like that noise versus your phone alarm, you just always respond to it. So I've swirled the almond butter in there, and then I have my strawberries hulled and halved. So I'm just going to line them out. And I do this a little bit maybe mathematically, as in there are 9 pieces when I slice from this tray. So I put 9 strawberries on. So it saves the rows later on of I didn't get a strawberry, because everybody does. And it's nice to have that bite of strawberry going on in each brownie, I find. So I have now lined them up. And then the last piece is just a little sprinkle of flaked almonds, just for a little bit of decoration. If you don't have them on hand, absolutely don't worry about it. I just like the kind of the addition. So this is it, ready to go into the oven.
Delicious.
So about 20 to 25 minutes for this. I'm just going to put the timer on. And I like to let them cool down completely from the oven before slicing them up, because that just makes sure that you don't end up with kind of gooiness.
When you have a breath with a few questions are coming in specifically around this banana bread of yours that you've mentioned. Oh, that looks nice.
So are we looking recipe-wise or looking feel-wise?
Yeah, I think, if you could find it's, so the banana bread recipe is in your book, and I think you called it muffin, wasn't it? Something banana muffin?
Grab and go banana muffins.
Beautiful.
So ingredients-wise, what you're looking at is bananas. There are some oats in there, but I would just double the ground almonds, which are the second ingredient if you are oat intolerant. And then eggs, vanilla extract, coconut oil, baking powder, allspice, cinnamon, and agave. You'll probably see a bit of a trend that I use similar ingredients across my recipes, which just makes it easier for you in terms of having things on hand, for sure.
Wonderful. Now, Lindsay is wondering, where did you get your silicone trays from?
Now, the absolute $1 million question. That one my mum got for me in a pound shop in Portland. So no help there. But
I'd say you could probably
they do have them in stock. The kitchenware shop in town just beside the Gaiety. I've also seen them in Brown Thomas, and I've seen them
in Arnott's as well, in the kitchen department store in Arnott's, where they would do them as well.
Exactly. Anywhere that sort of does kitchenwares tends to do them. Also, Amazon is my go-to at the moment for all those kind of things. I signed up to the Prime delivery, so there's no stopping me. No stopping you.
Sinead is just wondering here, I'm assuming in your cookery book, do you do grams as well as cup measurements?
Yeah, so basically, I do cups for baking loose things, and then I do grams for, mince and say chopped tomatoes, things like that kind of, in my mind, I use cups when they make sense, and I use grams when they make sense.
Yeah, I understand.
So I'm just going to show you guys this before I move on, so you can get an idea of how the consistency changes. So it's really, really cake-like and delicious. So I'd be piling on a bit of almond butter, some extra agave, some natural yogurt. I actually love a bit of coconut yogurt as well, so it's a really lovely one. Now, if I didn't want to eat it straight away and I wanted to meal prep it, I just let it cool down fully, and then I'd store it in an airtight container.
Fantastic. I'm having a quick, the agave. Can you just show, do you mind pulling that pack up onto the camera so we can just have a look at it? I think there's some of our viewers would like to have a look at it.
So it's the Biona organic one that I use, and I use light agave. So there's a couple of different ones on the market, but I just like that this has a squidgy can.
Yes, yeah.
There's no kind of, it's not like maple syrup where you're looking for grade A and, you know, ensuring that it is what it says on the tin, essentially.
Fantastic. So Caoimhe, that was your question there, so hopefully that answers that.
So I'm just going to get set up now for my boneless bites. So these are the ultimate Friday night showstopper. I absolutely love them. And they're a great one for if you're having people around to kind of have a little bit of a snack. Or equally, if you just want to do them for yourself as dinner. I do that all the time.
Delicious.
So I'm just getting some chicken breast out, an egg, some coconut flour.
Now the risk with coconut, well, the only time I ever used coconut flour was I tried to make a crumble topping from it, and oh my God, it ended up it was apple crumble, and it took every moisture out of the apples because it's really absorbent, isn't it, Nicola?
Yeah, exactly. So if you are substituting coconut flour for baking, you need to use half the amount that they tell you in the recipe, and then you need to double the liquid. So it's 100 grams of normal flour, 6 eggs, and God, that's too much maths, 1 egg, and 50 mils of milk. You're going to use 50 grams of coconut flour, 2 eggs, and 100 mils of milk. Basically.
Honestly, I had to throw the whole thing out. Literally, it was a disaster. So I've always been a bit nervous about it since, but hopefully you'll inspire me.
Now, see, the way I use it is in a completely different way. So I use it in the sense of, you know, when you're dredging something in breadcrumbs, I use it instead of ordinary flour. So it's more so a means to an end than a kind of major ingredient in my cooking.
Brilliant.
So for the bonus bites, I've got my oven preheated to 220, and then I have just a rack out, you know, a cooling rack on top of a baking tray, because this means you don't need to worry about them sticking. Basically, you get a nice even cook, no other reason. And if you only have a baking tray, fire ahead, just make sure that it's non-stick, or you pop a little speck of oil on it as well.
Perfect. I'm just answering questions here as I can as they come in. We've loads of people interacting with us today, Nicola.
What I'll do is I'll start chopping the chicken into dices, if you want to fire some questions my way.
Now, we have obviously a vegan or a vegetarian here wondering, can we substitute corn fillets for real chicken?
Absolutely, yeah, they would work really, really well.
Yeah.
And also what I like to do is substitute it for cauliflower as well, and the nice one.
Now we have Jennifer, we have Margaret Fitzgerald has won something. Now what has she won, Jennifer? If you could just message me on but if you get in touch with Jennifer Morrow at celiac.ie, Margaret Fitzgerald, and she won the Wonky Spatula cookery book. So Margaret has got your book, so I'm sure she'll be absolutely delighted with that.
I will sign it personally and get it out to you.
Oh, how kind. Now, Margaret, you must get in touch with Jennifer in the chat. So it's jennifer.morrow@celiac.ie, or even if it's info@celiac.ie, that's info@celiac.ie. So that is a lovely Wonky Spatula cookery book. And I think somebody asked, where is your book available? Is it available in store? Obviously it's available online on this, but if somebody has a good local cookery bookstore, is it available?
Yeah, it is in all Easons nationwide, all Dewberry Books nationwide, most bookstores. stations and a lot of independent retailers as well. So really, really widely available. If you do want to buy it online, you can head over to my stand here for this week. Orphan Press, my publishers, have given me 20% off for all attendees with the code CELIAC when you're checking out. That's available for the next week. And then after that, if you kind of want to head on and purchase elsewhere, all the info is on my Instagram, the Wonky Spatula. So that's where I post all my important updates and new recipes.
Brilliant. Yeah, you've got an amazing social media presence. I follow you as well on Instagram and on Facebook, so you're always posting delicious inspirations. I often go there for the weekend when I'm just a bit brain fogged after a busy week and looking for some interesting things to cook.
That's fab. And then I suppose just as well, kind of, I suppose, caveat on Instagram that I suppose people always live their kind of their best life over there. So I try to show a bit of the behind the scenes on my stories as well, because I think sometimes when people land on my page, they might think, oh God, I don't have all that time to spend in the kitchen, and you know, that's all she kind of does every day. So obviously she has as the time, but I actually work a really busy 9 to 5 as well. So I know all about the kind of time pressures and things like that. I'm actually using my lunch break to do this today.
You're so good. We really appreciate it. You're inspiring us all. Now, what else?
Let me talk you through this bit, and then we can break again if we don't mind. So, quarter cup of ground almonds going in for my mixture. When you are looking for these, always buy them in the baking section. Some recipes, not mine, maybe some from earlier on before I realized this hack, but some recipes call for almond flour, which is essentially ground almonds, but supermarkets tag an extra €2 or €3 on for the pleasure. So always head to the baking section and you can get 100 grams normally for about €2. Then you need 2 tablespoons or so of the coconut flour and a little bit of salt. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to crack an egg, dip my chicken into the egg, and then into the breadcrumb mix.
I'm just going to announce a couple of winners. Lindsay White, you are also a winner. So again, if you email jennifermorrow@celiac.ie. Also, Gary McMahon, you've also won something, and we'll let you know all the details via email once you get in touch. So well done. Thanks, Jennifer, for doing that in the background. All this magic is happening.
And one thing I will actually say is when I am kind of dredging things in breadcrumbs and doing this technique, I always keep one hand for the sort of the meat and the egg and the other hand for the breadcrumbs. It just stops you getting that kind of messy situation. Now, I have in the last couple of weeks been caught out by saying that and then demoing the absolute opposite. So in an ideal world, that's how you'd run things.
So I think there's been a bit of we might just have to check the website. I think people are going across to your stand, but we'll just make sure the offer is on there. Maybe Jennifer, you might get in touch with our colleague to make sure the offer is up on the Wonky Spatula stand, because there's lots of interest in your book. So we definitely want to support you as best we can with that fantastic discount.
Brilliant. And if there isn't a direct link there for the moment and you still want to have a look, it's just orphanpress.ie. I think I'm probably on the front page. And you can just type in celiac as the code. And any problems with anybody kind of getting access to it, just pop me a message on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. I always have my phone in my hand, so you're probably guaranteed to get an answer immediately, if not within kind of a couple of hours.
I think Susie here is loving your kind of measuring. It's quite relaxed. I'm a bit the same. I quite like relaxed measuring in cooking.
Yeah, and to know what, like, it's totally cool to do that kind of thing for things like this and some elements of baking. But when you get into the nitty gritty of really complicated desserts, then I do have to abide by the rules. But that's probably why I tend to stick to more savory things where you can have a bit of fun.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm just checking. Somebody's getting kicked out of the Zoom, so I'm just checking the back end here, Thomas. So bear with us just one moment. And how long does your does the chocolate almond deliciousness stay in the oven, Nicola?
About 20 minutes. So we're probably nearing taking it out. I'm just going to wash my hands. That's one of the kind of key things when you are in the kitchen, is just making sure that you are keeping up with the hand hygiene. But I suppose we're all experts in it now at this stage.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So I've coated a good amount of my chicken, and I'm going to pop that into the oven so that you can get a view of how it is. So about 20 minutes or so. We've got 10 left on the brownies. I'm just going to clear this away.
Yeah, we've got another winner here, Verpy Lynch. If you you have won something as well, so I think that's possibly all the prizes given away. Maybe there's one more, but if you also get in touch with jennifer.morrow@celiac.ie. And obviously we are recording this, so you can watch back this webinar as of this evening. We'll be sharing the link, so if you've missed anything, you can watch back on it. And obviously Nicola's book is available across in the exhibition area of the website.
So I suppose the key to the boneless bites, if anyone is a fan of chicken wings, they will know Frank's hot sauce. So this is the basis of the boneless bites recipe and kind of the next stage after the oven. So I leave them in at 220 for about kind of 12 to 15 minutes, depending on the size of the chicken that you've cut. I like to cut it quite small so you can cook it quicker. And then they get drowned in this. So it's a really great one because the ingredients are quite limited. It's just kind of no nonsense, cayenne pepper, garlic, water, that kind of thing. So I pop that in. This is one of my cook measures, just so you can see them in real life. Yeah. So I pop that in there, and then I use a little bit or a lot, depending on what you're feeling, some just ordinary Kerrygold butter, about kind of a tablespoon going in there, and that kind of just takes down the spice slightly and kind of makes it really, really rich and creamy. So I'm just going to pop that in the microwave. You can do it over the stove, but why dirty a pot?
Yeah, no, I cannot keep Frank's in my house. My 15-year-old is absolutely addicted to Frank's sauce. It's very, very good. But if you're slightly sensitive to spice and hotness, either the butter would help, but I'll also ask Nicola when she comes back if there's Nicola, if you're kind of sensitive to spice, which some people can be, because I know this is delicious and it is there another sauce that you would recommend?
Yeah, I would probably, I wouldn't go trying to make it any less spicy, because it's virtually impossible unless you put, you know, a ratio of like 1 block of butter to a tablespoon of this. So I would go for making a barbecue sauce to go with instead. There's actually a really nice sticky barbecue sauce in my book that would go really well. And you can also maybe go down the teriyaki route. I actually did a teriyaki chicken at the event last year, and I went down a storm with everyone, and the recipe for that will be on my site as well. And with that, you can add, you know, a couple of spring onions on top and some sesame seeds. I'm actually loving, I'll show you. I am loving mixed sesame seeds at the moment. So I just picked them up in the supermarket. They were actually in the vegetable aisle as opposed to the baking aisle. And they are normal sesame seeds with toasted sesame seeds and black sesame seeds. So just a really nice one to kind of create a little bit of, I don't know, pomp and circumstance with your plating. That's actually one thing as well, that with my cooking, I always encourage people to spend a little bit of time, you know, plating and adding a little garnish, because it just makes it that bit more exciting. Because if you're not excited about what you're eating, like, you really shouldn't be, you know.
We eat so much with our eyes, don't we? And it also helps you know, if it kind of looks beautiful, it also helps with the whole digestion, because, you know, it's just good for our digestive process if we kind of sit and pause and take a moment.
And that's kind of one thing that I cover off in the beginning of the book, is a section on how to eat properly. And you might be like, God, I'm 30, whatever, I've been eating all my life. What are you telling me? But really, we don't think about it enough, and we don't sit down and kind of take a bit of time away from screen time and kind of pay attention to what we're eating. And that has such dramatic effects on your digestion. And if you already kind of suffer with it, doing that extra little step to kind of ensuring that you're eating the right way will work wonders.
Yeah, and in fact, we have a lovely piece tomorrow afternoon on mindfulness. So I think what you're talking about is very much part of that. It's actually just slowing down and being in the moment. So Jane Negrish from the Sanctuary in Dublin is actually doing a piece for us for, I think it's from 5:15 tomorrow. So that'll be really interesting.
I'm just going to grab the hot sauce, but if there are any more questions,
yeah, we have. Suzanne, you've asked a really good question, which I'm going to answer. You've said, would fish work? And I think it totally would. But we'll just get Nicola. Suzanne is wondering, Nicola, would cod or some nice kind of firm fish, local Irish fish, work in with this recipe?
Definitely. And if fish is your kind of go-to for things like that, I have a new recipe on my site that, had it have been created a few months earlier, would have made it into the book. I love it. But it's called Bang Bang Shrimp.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, it's a similar kind of, you've got the coconut flour. I actually use arrowroot in it as well. And the almond mix and my beloved sesame seeds. And it's a really kind of nice, it's almost a take on, like, say, deep fried prawns. And that would work really well with all kinds of fish. I love frito misto at the moment. So like a mixture of cod, prawns, and any other kind of fish I have on hand. So yeah, I definitely give it a go.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Now I'm just going back over the questions. Oh, do you by chance, Nicola, have a recipe? Somebody I think is looking for a brack recipe.
My mom has an amazing one, but I actually don't. But if you are looking for brack, and particularly gluten-free brack, I would tend to outsource those kind of things and pick up one in the supermarket. But there is a baker called Graham from the Cupcake Loaf who has an award-winning brack, and he actually posted up yesterday that he's doing gluten-free versions as well. I'm sure anybody around Rialto would have tried his gluten-free cupcakes. They are sublime.
Yeah. But even in a sense, even if you found a good recipe, you could also just just using the food list, just swap the recipes out for gluten-free ingredients. And I generally follow the same recipes, and I just make them gluten-free by just swapping out the recipes for gluten-free products. But anyhow, show us your delicious.
So the brownies are out of the oven, and they are looking pretty good. Now, as I said earlier with these, I like to let them cool completely before I touch them, because they will still be a little bit gooey in the middle. And I find if you bring them all the way to fully cooked in the oven, you lose that element of moisture with it. So I prefer to let it sit, let it do its thing, cool down completely, and then slice and enjoy.
Wonderful.
Brilliant.
I'm just going to re-announce the winners. So Margaret Fitzgerald, you've won the Wonky Spatula cookbook. Lindsay White, you've won the homespun hamper. Jerry McMahon, you've won the Schnitzer hamper. Verpy Lynch, you've won membership to the Celiac Society, and Thomas Rooney, you've won the Green Saffron hamper. So please get in touch with us. Jennifer has put her email address up online in the chat, so hopefully you can access that, okay? Or contact info@celiac.ie.
So I am just slicing up a little bit of celery to serve with my bonus bites. Goes down a treat.
We should be in good time. They should be ready, Nicola, hopefully.
Yeah, we have just 2 more minutes and we should be good to go.
Brilliant. Now, Rita, you're wondering about yesterday's talk on oats. You will be getting a link. It should have all been emailed out, the links to all of the previous events and access to talks. So that should hopefully be in your email so that you can access that. Michael's just wondering how many people you would serve from this. Mind you did it quite quick. I know you probably would have put, you can obviously just do enough chicken for as many as you'd like.
Exactly. So I go with a chicken breast per person. And if you're doing it as like a meal with maybe some chips or something like that, if you're just doing a canapé style for people to nibble over a couple of Friday drinks, I'd probably go half a chicken breast per person. Okay. So the recipe in the book, I think, calls for 3 to 4, and so that would feed 3 to 4 people as a full meal, or 6 to 8 as kind of a snack. So I'm just going to take a look at them now.
Sinead, that brand of hot sauce is Frank's. It's Frank's Red Hot. Is that the wing sauce, Nicola, or is that just the...
No, so the wing sauce has additional kind of things in it. So I like to go for the original and then add butter myself, just so I know what exactly I'm going into it. So you can see our chicken is nice and golden, and I am just going to toss it in the hot sauce, and then that's the recipe done. So I hopefully, like, you'll kind of see from all of these recipes is that it's so accessible and quick and easy to make kind of homemade versions of things that you love.
Yeah. Yeah, especially because we can't go out so much. You might just move that Frank's bottle there, Nicola, so that's it, perfect. They look delicious.
So I like to give them a good toss around in the sauce. And you might recognize them from a popular American restaurant. I actually used to work in TGI Fridays when I was in college. I had never gotten into hot sauce before that, and my first weekend people were ordering chicken wings, bonus bites, and had to give them a go for myself, and I really liked them, but what I didn't like about them is that they weren't something you could eat all day every day, just because they'd be more of a treat. So with this recipe I was kind of just trying to make it a little bit more accessible. You know, I'd eat this on a Monday, it doesn't have to be a Saturday or a Sunday. So that is them.
They look like a perfect snack for when we get our sporting activities back on a Saturday afternoon. I'm specifically thinking of a good rugby match. And putting our feet up on a Saturday or a Sunday and nibbling on those, that would just a great family treat. Oh, lovely.
A really, really nice one. Now, if you were serving it at a party, couple cocktail sticks, provided we're allowed to do that again. And yeah, no fuss, no mess, and generally no waste because no one leaves any behind.
No, absolutely brilliant. Everybody is delighted with those. They're looking absolutely fantastic. So brilliant. Now let me just go back. We've got a couple of minutes left, and now what brand of cocoa powder did you use? It's difficult to get gluten-free ordinary cocoa powder, so that's Anne coming in from Anne O'Shea.
I have used the New Naturals one. Now, I would probably be having a look at the food list to make sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Just 100% cacao. So.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you for that. Somebody, any ideas for a gingerbread recipe?
I have one on my website.
Well, look, I could see your brain working there, Nicola. You were like, oh.
I was trying to think, do I know off the top of my head what ingredients are in it, but on the basis of I use similar things, I'm sure it's almond based, and some lovely kind of cinnamon in there, and I love actually dipping them in chocolate, but that's just
delicious. And would you, if I've never actually made them, albeit my children used to love them, do you actually decorate them and put little chocolate eyes and everything on them, or just dip them?
Just dip them, to be honest. I have a whole range of different shapes that I picked up in the middle aisle in a supermarket for €2. So I make angels, stars, but then I also make really random ones as well, like Christmas trees and everything basically.
And do you find, just out of interest, Nicola, bearing in mind you cook everything gluten-free, is there anything you struggle to make? Or anything you make, but in my house we're gluten-free and there's nothing that we struggle with, but I'm just out of from your own experience, because I know your mum, you were saying your mum is gluten-free, isn't she?
Yeah, so I think, and speaking to her, I suppose when she was growing up, a long time ago, although she'd shoot me for saying that, there weren't the same level of kind of recipes out there or products. So rather than eat bread, she used to live off bananas and things like that. And the substitute just didn't taste the same. But I think now, you know, the only thing I would say that's probably difficult to make is bread, but there's so much bread available and so many good recipes to do it. I just personally don't like when I have to be so specific with making things, and bread is one of those things that you have to follow the rules.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. And where did you get your coconut flour from? It's pretty widely available, isn't it, Nicola?
Yeah, so this one is New Naturals. It's an Irish brand. It's the same one as the cacao powder that I use.
They're available. They're in Super Value, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. You can get them in Super Value. Super Value also does another one that I just finished a jar of with a green label, but I can't remember the name. But around the kind of baking and speciality aisle, and you'll see it. Dr. Coy's actually, who exhibited last year, I don't know if they are this year.
Yeah, no, they're not, but they're available in Super Value. Yeah, absolutely. So, and when in doubt, always refer to your food list. And we've got some exciting news for you, Nicola. We are hoping about March, April next year, that we'll have a food list app. So all of our celiacs and gluten-free members and our audience will be able to actually go around their supermarket and check everything, or all their gluten-free listings in their app. So that's really exciting news for us here at the Society. So we're just coming up to time now, Nicola. So I really want to take the time to thank you so much. You've just done an amazing job and you've inspired us. And for all those watching, it's a beautiful book, and I think we should support this young lady and her fantastic business and everything she's doing, and like her on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook. And thank you so much, Nicola.
Super. Thanks a million for having
me. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.